Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Girlfriend Music Throwaway, who says, I 28 male wrote a song. My girlfriend 28 female listened to it without knowing I created it and called it trash. When she found out I created it, she got extremely mad at me. So let me start off by saying that I know this was slightly manipulative. I deceived her by omission, and it speaks volumes about my communication skills. I understand that, and I actually feel really guilty about it. But here's what happened. My girlfriend is very critical about music. I make music on my own, but I never felt like she ever gave me real criticism of my music, despite me pleading with her to give me something blunt and real. She always said it was great and never had anything to say about it, but when she would critique other music, she'd get extremely detailed with it, critiquing music down to the very last detail. I really admire her thoughts on music, and all I really wanted was for her to do that for my music as well, but she would always say it was great without saying much else, and I never believed her due to the stark differences in how she would frame those opinions. So one day, I had her listen to some music, without telling her it was mine. I just said, hey, check out this track, without saying it was mine. She went in. She said it was the work of someone who had no idea what they were doing. The composition was all over the place, and it didn't flow together. Sections of the song were much too long. There was a rise without a climax, and she said it was all around just a boring song. When I told her it was my song, she got really, extremely upset. She said I was an asshole for lying to her. I manipulated her and that she can never trust me again. She took a bunch of things and stayed at her parents' house last night. I feel terrible, but at the same time, I also feel a bit vindicated. Also, I feel like she's overreacting. I don't really know where to go from here because I don't want to lie to her about how I feel about what I did. Feels sort of bad, but then again, not really. Did I do the right thing? I'm honestly unsure where this one is going to go. It kind of gave me mixed feelings as I was reading that. As always, I never think I'm right when I'm reading these stories. It's just, I kind of felt as I was reading it, the manipulation is going to backfire on you like it did. As her feedback to you before was probably sugar coated and she was just trying to be supportive towards you. And now she feels manipulated. So basically you've got what you wanted out of this, the honest critique, which I don't blame you for wanting either, but you've also torched the trust in the process. But I also look back again at the girlfriend's point of view and I think, well, you can critique even loved one's work or whatever without being harsh about it. There's ways around it, right? It's going to be interesting to see where this one goes. But PTWA says, regardless of the specifics, she very clearly told you, I don't want to do this thing. And you tricked her into doing the thing she clearly told you she didn't want to do. If you want to get it all mixed up in feelings around music criticism, that's your business. But the plain facts are as above, and people are allowed to feel that it's not cool to A, not have their own decisions about what they don't want to do to be respected, and B, be tricked by someone they trusted. If the vindication about her opinion is worth doing A and B to her, then I guess it is worth it, and you'll just need to live with the fallout from it. Opie says, she didn't tell me she didn't want to critique my music. Well, I agree with most people here that I did something manipulative and I feel horrible about it. I think it highlights a bigger issue of communication in this relationship. I value blunt honesty, and she knows this about me, yet continued to placate me and tell me it's great with no real comment. I felt that was condescending. I totally regret not grilling her on this kind of thing, but I didn't think it was fair for me to force her to tell me something she obviously didn't want to tell me. But I also don't think it's fair that she kept lying to me, telling me that my music is great when I have to manipulate her into admitting she was lying the whole time. This was a breakdown in communication in a huge way. And while neither of us are saints, I don't believe I was the only bad guy in this situation. Weedpot says, 1, I hope you don't feel bad. She's your girlfriend, not someone who's expected to love everything you create. You do appreciate her criticism and she gave it to you. You should be glad if you respect her opinion. Apologize for manipulating her and thank her for her honest feedback. Let her know that her opinion of your song does not hurt your feelings, that in the future, you didn't have to play games like that to get her opinion. Good luck. Opie says, I really do appreciate the actual opinion she gave me, but I lost respect for her as a person. Just because frankly feel infantilized by her desire to lie to me in order to protect my feelings when I was bluntly trying to tell her that I really want her real, blunt opinions on my music. Snow Lover says, good people don't enjoy insulting or hurting their partners. It's not fun, it's painful. If your SO is anything like me, then critiquing the creative work of someone you love as bad is the same as insulting that person. It is taking something she knows you worked hard on and telling you and your effort was worthless. That is not an enjoyable experience. It's painful, and it's extremely unkind of you to put her in that position. She wants to keep your relationship positive. You've ruined that, and it'd be very hard for her to forgive you for that. So, it was sometime later after these comments that Opie came in with an update and said, hi everyone, my old post can be found here, and shared the link, TLDR at the bottom because I know one will be needed. I didn't get a whole lot of well-wishing words from me on my last post. Most people felt that I was manipulative, took away her agency of choice by deceiving her, and that I deserved to have my relationship fall apart. Well, you guys are right. You win. She hadn't officially broken up with me, but I could tell the relationship had been in its final stages. Long story short, the day after I wrote my post, i.e. the day I responded to most of the comments, a few hours later, I called her, told her to stay at her mum's place, that we were fundamentally incompatible, and that this obviously wasn't going to work out. I wanted to provide some background to our relationship to clarify what I believe to be a few misunderstandings in the responses to my previous post. I'd been asking her for a long time to provide me with honest critique to my music. I've approached her before about why her answers are so vague and placatey when it comes to my music. I told her I can obviously see the contrast between that and how she critiques all music. Whether she likes it or not, she outright denied that she was just placating me. So much placating, and that there's nothing to worry about, and all my music is great, and that I'm being crazy about it. The last time her and I talked about this, I was not subtle in my communication. I directly told her that I would value her critiques and take it to heart, whether the critique was positive or negative. I just really wanted her opinion, particularly considering that she's been a primary inspiration to some of my best work. I'd made it clear that I really just didn't want to be placated, because music is so important to me, and the same goes for her, and I'm not in it to get people to suck me off and tell me how great I am. I want to be the best possible musician I can be, and I also feel incredibly disrespected by being placated. Come on, man, like I'm some child who can't take criticism. I've never given anyone, let alone her, reason to believe that I would need placation. Sorry, beyond this, she still denied it all. But I could tell it was pretty much BS, and it was driving me crazy. So months and months later, I've gotten nowhere with communicating with her, and I still have the nagging suspicion to the point where I'm not even asking her opinion anymore, because it just makes me mad. A few days ago, it just popped in my mind like it was no big deal to play her one of my pretty okay, pretty meh in my opinion, but still had pretty okay responses from the general public, songs. Basically just throwaway instrumental I did when I was bored and kinda dug it at the time. And I didn't tell her it was me. We finished listening and I asked her what she thought of that tune. She goes off on it, basically hating it. See my previous post. I said, okay, thanks so much. I'm glad I could finally get it out of you. I agree with a lot of what you said. She goes, wait, that's your song? I said, yeah, it's an old one. And she gets mad and says, what the fuck, OP? And we get into an argument about it. She thinks I went out of my way to manipulate her, like it was sociopathic and premeditated. I'm telling her, it's not even that big of a deal. Why were you lying to me in the first place? And she said, because I just don't like your music. Are you happy? And we continued to fight. It escalated to the point where he started swearing, so she said, you know what? I don't need this, and walked out. She's been there ever since. Fast forward to the breakup conversation. She said she felt guilty about not liking my music for two reasons. One, because she thinks it was fucked up that I simply didn't like her SO's art, and she was ashamed of that. The other reason is that a lot of the time, she feels like she doesn't know what she's talking about, and didn't want to rip my music apart like she does with most songs, because she could totally be wrong, and then she'd be an arsehole. I was really upset by this. I feel like I called her out on her lying months ago, and she kept lying to me instead of just saying that. I tried so hard to tell her months ago that it's okay if she doesn't like it, but she just clammed up, thinking I was going to fly off the handle and end our relationship over it. After months and months of telling her that I didn't want to be placated, she kept trying to placate me. I wouldn't communicate the real reasons. How am I supposed to expect her to be an adult and communicate what she really feels, instead of lying to avert imagined conflict when we have relationship issues in the future? Music is such a huge and important piece of our lives together, and this situation probably wouldn't have gotten to where it is if it weren't. It may seem silly to those of you on the outside that what appears to be just a stupid, petty argument lead to a complete breakdown of a relationship, and now I'm just confused and lonely. She was also my best friend in the entire world, and there's a void inside of me and a voice telling me that I'm making a huge mistake, and I'm confused and pulled in multiple directions. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Commander says to the OP, she communicated with you the first time in a way to stop you from asking her about it again, and instead of taking her at her word, you then passively aggressively manipulated her into yet another conversation about it. She shouldn't have to provide you with her entire thought process in order for you to believe that she means what she says the first time. The breakdown in communication has to do with you not respecting her comments the first time. It literally doesn't matter what her opinions on your music are or how that relates to you. She made it clear that she didn't really want to talk about it, and instead of taking that at face value, you manipulated her into giving a different response because of what you wanted. Look, dude, there are plenty of ways to get critique and validation for your music. Why did you feel that manipulating someone you love into doing it when they clearly didn't want to was one of those ways? This is not what listening to music is about, and it's not good communication tactic in a relationship either. She placated you to avoid conflict for both of you, but you manipulated her for your own validation. To me, that sounds selfish. Opie says she didn't communicate anything with me. She made me feel crazy for seeing past the everything is great facade when it wasn't. She actively hid her feelings from me, but I made it expressly clear how much I don't appreciate being placated, because it shows lack of respect and trust for me, and it's condescending. Opie responds to another bunch of comments and saying, "That's your unfortunate perspective," quoting her dishonesty came from a place of keeping the peace, and then says that doesn't make it okay, especially if I've never given a reason to think I would disrupt the peace, and was very clear about that. Then quotes your dishonesty came from a place of self-serving vindication, and says I think it's more simple than that. It came from a place of uncovering a lie. Do you guys pile on like this when someone snoops through a phone to find out their partner's cheating? Do those people get hundreds of comments calling them names like a couple have done to me here, and making character assaults over it? Or do they tell them to take screenshots and keep them for later? And then quotes again saying you could have just broken up with her and saying, I did. I knew she was repeatedly lying to my face for months and I uncovered it and broke up with her. And I'm getting zero sympathy here for it. And for reasons that simply aren't making too much sense. Lying is perfectly okay when she does it because she was uncomfortable, conflict averse, or whatever. But when I do something to uncover a lie, something everyone here can agree that it's not cool to do in a relationship. I'm manipulative, deceitful, stupid, an idiot, etc. Nobody here is catching on to the double standard except for 2 to 3 people who message me in support, afraid to get piled on by the karma train. And OP finally says, in quoting, OP's girlfriend did not have any domain expertise, and then says, yes she does. She's a professional in our local music community. Apologies for chuckling through certain parts of that. When OP's used the same word over and over again, like OP kept saying placate all the way through this, it just brings me back to another story all the time. I wasn't going to say it because I didn't want to bring the curse for you guys back, but if it's in my head, so be it. Do you remember the pillars guy? Who kept saying like we're 2 pillars holding each other up and kept going on and on about it. It got so bad once when I went to Rome to look at all the Colosseum and stuff, and when I saw pillars, that was the first thing that came to my head. Like, what the hell? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. This next story comes from Head Specific 6763, and it says, my wife had a wild phase before me, and now that I'm finally thriving, I feel like I missed out. Am I wrong for feeling this way? I've been married to my wife for 5 years, together for 8, and we have 2 beautiful children. She's been my first everything, my first girlfriend, my first real relationship, my first in every sense. I didn't really date in high school or college because honestly, I didn't take care of myself. I lacked confidence and I didn't feel attractive, so I stayed focused on other things. My wife, on the other hand, had a more typical college experience. She had a few relationships and her phase, as she was extremely attractive. She even did stuff with 2 guys at the same time. She was upfront about it when we started dating, and it never bothered me, although I tried not to think about it too much. Now here's the thing. Over the years, she's become quite reserved when it comes to intimacy. She says she had a wild side during college, and now she's done with that phase. She prefers a more traditional approach to the intimacy. She says she's tried everything she wanted to and knows what she enjoys and what she doesn't enjoy in the bedroom. And she wants to build intimacy and love, not wild lust. And I completely respect that. I'm not trying to do something which doesn't excite her in the bedroom. But lately, I've changed. I'm in the best shape of my life. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Even my family and friends are kind of shocked with how I look. My wife loves the new me and she says she finds me more attractive than ever. But to be blunt, I don't care that my wife finds me attractive because I know I look good now. And it's not like her finding me more attractive will change anything in the bedroom department. My hormones right now are all over the place and I can't help but feel like I missed my chance to experience that same fun side of life. I never had the exploration, the experimentation, the freedom. Now that I finally feel great about myself, that door seems closed. I brought it up with my sister. We're close, and she was surprisingly blunt. She said it's unfair that my wife got to have those experiences and now expects me to settle for less than what she once enjoyed. That hit me harder than I expected. But my sister also loves me to death and said some crazy stuff like I deserve to have an experience with at least one other woman in my life, else I keep resenting my wife. I love my wife. I don't want to hurt her. I'm not thinking of cheating or anything like that. But I do feel stuck between respecting her boundaries and acknowledging my own desires that never had a chance to exist. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Has anyone else been in this situation? How did you cope? Look, it's okay to have feelings. Your feelings are feelings and sometimes you can't control what you're thinking and how you feel. Therefore, the only way you're going to solve this is by having a conversation with your wife. It's really quite that simple, isn't it? But I was really stuck on the sister's advice in this. Absolutely unhinged, marriage torpedoing advice. Fuck is that? Which I know is another story, but it just made me think, I wonder what she's got against a relationship. RK says, I'll be careful taking your sister's advice about your relationship. The right thing is to have an honest conversation with your wife. Be direct. The butt demon says, the guy's sister hates his wife. Tell them I said hi says, yep, sister would not plant that seed against another woman without ulterior motives. Not enough info to know if the sister is justified. Conclusion equals says the grass is never greener on the other side, it's just different grass. From someone who is in the kink world. Get really clear on what it is you actually want. Every fantasy sounds great in your imagination or in porn, but whatever it is you want to explore, it will not be the same when played out with your wife or any other woman, if you break up or whatever. It is a tale as old as time for a married person to have tons of ideas of what leaving their domesticated problems will be like. They think they will be swimming in pussy or men will be lining up for them. And reality is very different. They are often disappointed and wish they could have their marriage and family back. It would be better to talk to your wife, like in therapy, that you feel like you need to spice things up. You won't get anywhere by just being mad at her. So OP comes back into the post with an update and says, hey everyone, I posted this last night and went to bed. I woke up a couple of hours ago, read through a lot of the replies. Thank you all for all the honesty. And decided to have a conversation with my wife this morning. My wife and I are usually very honest with each other. I was upfront with her about how I've been feeling, specifically that I haven't been feeling very desired lately. She was surprised at first and even a little shocked, because we're usually pretty lovey-dovey with each other. At first she thought I was joking, but I told her I was serious. She reassured me that she loves me more than she can ever put into words, that she finds me incredibly attractive. I asked her why I have to initiate intimacy most of the time, and that seemed to hit her. She got quiet and then told me she would make an effort to initiate more often, and even kiss me more then to show how she meant it. She wanted to do it there, but I rejected her and told her I wasn't done. I told her that initiating more was a start, but what I really wanted was way, way, way more than that. I opened up about how she had the chance to explore her fantasies and experiment in her past, while I never had that chance. I told her about the attention I've been getting from other women recently. Like for example, 3 women at the library I go to regularly who've been very upfront with me, and how I've turned all of them down. But that it made me think. I told her that I don't feel desired at all at home, and in fact, I feel more desired at the library or park, or even at work when I talk to women. Then I told her directly, I want to seriously spice up our bedroom life. I'm not talking about just small things. I told her I'm in the best shape of my life, and right now I want to feel that kind of wild lust that I never got to experience. Not in a reckless way. I just want that passion and fire, at least for the next few years while I feel this good in my skin. To my surprise, my wife was very receptive to what I said. We sat down and talked more openly than we have in a long time. I told her some of the fantasies in my head that I'd like to explore, and she actually listened and took me seriously. But then something happened that I wasn't expecting. She broke down in tears. She asked if I still found her attractive. That hurt to hear because of course I do. I hugged her and comforted her and told her I still find her as beautiful as ever. Yes, she's gone through some body changes since giving birth, but that doesn't change how I feel about her at all. So yeah, that's probably my final update. We still have a lot to talk about, but for the first time in a while, I feel heard and hopeful. Thank you all again for your input. It really gave me the push I needed to be honest with myself and with my wife. First commenter on that one says, I have a feeling this is definitely not over. Danish Juggler says in quotes, hey guys, talked to my wife about it and it went great. She broke down in tears and asked if I still found her attractive. I think that's a great sign. I'm about to have so much hot sex. The Dark Queen says he'll be back posting about how he was blindsided by the divorce after things got spicier. I.e., he convinced her she needed to do things she didn't want to do to keep him happy, and she finally left. I just had my palm on my forehead for a lot of that update. I mean, he basically just told his wife, other women want me more than you do, and thinks her crying means things are gonna go well. Imagine standing in front of your partner, someone that you're meant to love, meant to be your everything, and saying to them, you know, I was just at the library, and I turned down 3 women whilst I was there. They were all over me. This is all just saying to me, this is the calm before the divorce papers, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.